Have you ever felt deep down that you were born for something bigger? That your voice has power, even when the world does not seem to hear? Today you will know the story of a man who believed it with every heartbeat and changed the course of humanity. So stay with me, because today's Impact episode will start, and I assure you, you will come out different from what you came in. But before we plunged into this inspiring journey, let me tell you something very important. This video is not just about history. It is about transformation. And it's also about how you can improve your English in a light, engaging, and exciting way. Hearing practice is one of the most powerful ways for those who really want to learn English. When you listen carefully, your mind begins to understand language music. You absorb vocabulary, structure, pronunciation, all without even realizing that you are studying. And do you know what the secret? You learn by connecting with real stories, emotion, with purpose. This is how learning becomes part of your life. And look, I know how frustrating it can sometimes. Listen and not understand everything. Feeling is trying, but it seems that English does not enter. Or think that you will only get expensive classes with a lot of time available. But the truth is that if you are here, you have already taken the first step. And he is the most important, because English is learned anyway, word by word, phrase by sentence, with constancy and with heart. And that's exactly what we're going to do together here. Now imagine that you are learning English, and at the same time filling yourself with courage, inspiration, and purpose. It is possible. And today, with the story of Martin Luther King Jr., you will try it in practice. A man who used words, only words, to break walls, open paths, and transform whole generations. And guess what? His words can also transform your life. So, settle down there. Breathe deep. Leaves the open mind and the heart receptive. Because when we hear carefully, when we feel what is being said, the magic of English happens. And much more than learning a language, you learn to connect with the world. Ready to start? Because now, yes. Martin Luther King Jr.'s story is about to touch you deeply. Martin Luther King Jr. was not born on a throne. It didn't come from a place where everything was easy. He was born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States, at a time when skin color still determined the limits of a person's freedom. It was a world divided by invisible walls, but very real. Walls of prejudice, silence, exclusion. And do you know what is most impressive? He decided as a young man that he would not accept living behind these walls. He decided that his voice would have power. From an early age, Martin saw the unfair world surrounding his family. He grew up listening to stories of segregation, seeing signs that said, "Only to whites," and witnessing glances of contempt where there should be respect. But he also grew up in a house full of faith. His father was a pastor. Your mother, a strong and devoted woman. And it was there, in that simple and full of values, that Martin learned that justice and love are not distant ideas. They are daily choices. Just imagine a young black man in the 1950s in the United States, dreaming of equality. It was not just difficult, it was dangerous. But Martin believed. He studied, graduated in sociology and theology, and became a pastor as his father. But he wanted more. I wanted your faith to get out of the pulpits and to win the streets. And that is what he did. In 1955, something happened that would change everything. A woman named Rosa Parks refused to give her place on the bus to a white man. She was arrested. And this prison lit the flame of a movement. Martin Luther King, just 26, led a boycott of Montgomery buses. It was a peaceful but powerful act. For over a year, blacks in that city refused to ride the bus. And do you know what happened? They won. Segregation in transport was considered illegal. Think with me for a moment. Would you have the courage to face the system? To put your life at risk for something you believe? Martin had, and it was just the beginning. He led gears, organized speeches, more than 30 times was arrested, had his house attacked, received threats, but never retaliated with hatred. He believed that love was the most powerful weapon of all. And there is one of the greatest lessons in this story. You don't have to lift your voice to be heard. You don't have to assault to change the world. You just need to position yourself with truth, firmly, with compassion. And that is what he did in every step he took. In 1963, Martin Luther King made one of the most famous speeches in human history. Faced with more than 250,000 people in Washington, he said, "I have dream. I have a dream. A dream of equality, of freedom, of justice." His words echoed as a thunder of hope. That moment marked a turn. The struggle for civil rights gained strength, won the world. And even with so many achievements, Martin knew that the way would still be long. He knew that fighting for peace is not an easy way, but it is the only way that is worth it. And that's why he continued. Until the end. In 1968, at 39, Martin Luther King Jr. was murdered. A life interrupted too early. But your voice, this no one could shut up. Your words still live. Your legacy still inspires. Your courage still transforms. And do you know what is most beautiful in all this? He was not perfect. He had fears, doubts, weaknesses. But he chose to do what was right. He chose to speak when many were silent. He chose to love when the world shouted hatred. He chose to move on, even when the path seemed impossible. Now you think, and you? What is your dream? What have you stopped doing for fear? What keeps you from taking the next step? The story of Martin Luther King Jr. is not just about politics. It is about courage. It is about purpose. It is about not letting the circumstances define who you are. And right now, as you hear this story, something starts to change inside you. Because every time we hear a true story, something comes on. An idea, an emotion, a desire. Maybe it's time for you to raise your voice too. Maybe it's time to believe, more than ever, that you can make a difference too. If you want to learn English, you want to grow in life, you want to be a stronger and braver version of yourself, know that it all starts inside. It starts with a decision. To continue. To persist. Not to give up. Even when it is difficult. Even when it looks like nothing is working. Martin Luther King Jr. proved that words can move mountains. And you are here now, listening, learning, evolving. This is already a sign that your dream is alive, and that you have everything you need to make it a reality. And now that you know the story of Martin Luther King Jr., maybe you are wondering, what can I do with my voice, with my dreams? The answer is simple, but powerful. You can start. You can start with what you have, where it is, with courage in the chest and faith in the heart. Because that's how Martin started. And look where he arrived. Let's recap together. Martin Luther King Jr. was an ordinary man with extraordinary faith. He faced racism, injustice, fear. Not with violence, but with words, with ideas, with love. He showed the world that, even at the darker moments, there is always a light. There is always hope. There is always a bigger dream than pain. And this lesson is true for you too. Learning English, for example, may seem like a huge challenge now, but every word you hear, every phrase you understand, every video you follow, all of this is adding. And when you least expect it, you will realize that you can understand much more than before. That can express itself better, that your confidence has increased. This is how the transformation happens, step by step. So here is an invitation. Practice today, even for just a few minutes. Rewrite this video. Pay attention to the sounds. Repeat words aloud. Feel the rhythm of the tongue, the intonation. Let English go through little in your daily life, not as an obligation, but as a gift you are giving. And do you want another valuable tip? Get inspired by stories like that of Martin Luther King Jr., listen to speeches, read biographies, watch movies about people who challenged the impossible. Because when you connect with great stories, your English improves, and your worldview as well. You grow inside and out. Oh, and don't forget, the English journey is not a straight line. It has easier days. It has difficult days. And that's fine. The important thing is to continue. With constancy, lightly, with purpose. Every word you learn is a brick on the path of your success. And believe me, this path will take you much further than you think. You were born to win, to evolve, to transform your story, just as Martin transformed his and millions of people. Now, it's with you. What are you going to do with what you heard today? Will you keep it for you? Or will you share with the world? If this story touched your heart, if you felt inspired, challenged, motivated, I invite you to subscribe to the channel right now. This helps us a lot to continue bringing value content, with stories that play and teach. And take the opportunity to leave a comment below. Tell me what marked you most in the life of Martin Luther King Jr. I really want to know. And of course, don't stop here. There are other videos waiting for you, with new stories, new inspirations, new opportunities to learn English, with purpose, with emotion. Thank you so much for being here, for listening with an open heart, believing that learning English can be more than decorating rules. It can be a path of personal transformation. Never forget, your dream matters too. Your voice also has power. And each time you take a step toward your future, you are honoring everything that Martin Luther King Jr. believed. Continue, grow, believe. We see each other in the next video. And until then, keep learning, keep dreaming, and never give up.